Corey Feldman. That's right, Corey Feldman. Honestly, I never thought I'd ever make a video about Corey Feldman. About one of his movies, you know. Lots of great ones. The Goonies, Gremlins, Stand By Me, and The Lost Boys. I love them, right? And to me, Corey Feldman is just oddly fascinating. What about you? This is not a video to harass, abuse, mock, tease. It's to say that I find Corey Feldman oddly fascinating, right? Do you? Let's talk about it. So, this will not be any psychological session, some psychological, psychiatric breakdown and analytic, breakdown analysis of Corey Feldman and why he's so oddly fascinating, or maybe the underlying, again, psychological reasons. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and I don't play one on TV or the internet, but I'm just saying that I think what we'll talk about is, to me, this sort of hilarious and, gentle and not so gentle mocking, teasing of Corey Feldman and why it is so fascinating. Now, look, if you guys are watching the video, clicked, I'm sure you know Corey Feldman. He's been in a lot of great movies, like I said in the intro. The Goonies, Gremlins, Lost Boys, Stand By Me. Just such good films. And, as an actor on his own, meaning if he's in a special, or his own special, he sings, or if he's doing another movie, maybe a lesser movie, I'm not really going to seek him out. But the movies he's been in, he's been very good in them, and they've been huge blockbusters. So I think that's one of the main reasons that he's so a part of some of the biggest movies that we grew up with that are still such classics. I mean, I heard they're going to make a Gremlins 3. I guess, yeah, they made a 2, which was pretty good. But they're going to make a 3. I don't know if he's going to be in it, but certainly they're making another Gremlins, which is cool. I think they might make finally another Goonies. So, and I guess he did 2 Lost Boys sequels. I think 2 at least. I've not seen them. I don't know how good they are. But so he is a pretty big actor. He's been, in front of the cameras, I think, since 3 or 4 years old. I think he did his first, I think it was a McDonald's commercial at 3 or 4. That's insane. It's incredible to be in, and he's 52 or 3 or so. So he is definitely one of the longest running actors in Hollywood today, right? So, but let's get to more of the reasons why I think he's so oddly fascinating. See if you guys agree with me. Well, first things first, as we keep the movies, right? Stand By Me, Goonies, Gremlins, Lost Boys. They're such good films. And then in terms of his participation, so now he might not be the star, certainly not the main lead, but he is a co-star, and he has varying degrees of participation, of, importance. It's funny because someone was pointing out in Gremlins, he kind of starts, remember the ball rolling, because he kind of starts it with the water and don't get them wet after midnight, splashes water, I think, on them, and that's what grows the little gremlin nodules that become, more the Mogwai, Gremlins, whatever. So that, and then Lost Boys, he's like the vampire hunter, right? And then in Stand By Me, he's one of the pack, one of the, the friends pack, so to speak, of buddies. And in Goonies, he's one of the Goonies. So he's really important in all these movies, too. So I think if you grew up with them, like I did, certainly these movies are classics that people keep on watching. Mothers, fathers, and aunts and uncles, and the family, they keep showing the younger generations, the new breed, so to speak, next generation. So you're going to keep on seeing people like, Corey Feldman, and a new generation is introduced. So I think the movies, for sure, is one of the greatest reasons why everyone is like, Corey Feldman, I remember him for all those movies, and it sticks in your mind. And then we have Corey Feldman as singer-guitarist. He sings and plays guitar. I don't know how well. I mean, I've seen some clips. I haven't gone through a whole concert. I've heard, though, he plays guitar very well. Limp Bizkit, right? Limp Bizkit, the rock and roll rapper, the singer, the musician. He went on tour, and he brought, I guess, Corey as the opening act, and people were, screaming, "Oh, he's not really playing guitar." So Limp took a took a chair and brought it out and, sat right next to Corey and like just scrutinized his playing. He said, no, folks, he's playing. He's really playing the guitar. So he does play because he's a musician. In terms of the level of pleasure you derive from it and the quality or the singing, that's another matter. But he has put, I guess, 4 or 5 albums or more. He tours. People, you can actually go buy a ticket to Corey Feldman's, concerts. So there's the musicianship, for lack or better or worse. And so that's an interesting thing to kind of transition from an actor, child actor, to an adult actor, and then a singer-musician. And from what I understand, he's always wanted to be a singer, musician, guitarist more. He always wanted to be in music more. And I guess his parents kind of put him in at 3 or 4 years old. He really didn't have a choice. And, but now he's a musician of sorts, right? Of sorts. And then we have Michael Jackson. There's no other way to put it. In fact, the new movie, Michael, I hear it's breaking most records. I think it's number 2 or 3 of all-time biographies of, like a star, like say with Elvis. They had that great Elvis biography about 2-3 years ago. So it's just breaking all records. People are loving it. Critics maybe not so much, but he was one of Michael Jackson's pretty good friends, very good friends. They used to hang out for years. And needless to say, Michael Jackson remains one of the biggest stars in the world. He's gone. He's no longer with us, but he is of now Elvis, personification, Frank Sinatra, of that ilk, Prince. So I think that goes without saying as well. When you remember, if you do, Corey was one of his friends, and in subsequent interviews, of course, because all the allegations against Michael, obviously that became something that was very high profile. And then subsequently, Corey Feldman has said there's been a lot of stuff in Hollywood with abuse, and so he started to talk about it. So I think that's another big reason when you had such a big star like Michael Jackson and he was along for the ride. And then I think Corey, he wrote his book. In subsequent interviews, he has talked extensively about his friendship, and that's another reason he's just so fascinating. The king of pop and the kid from the Goonies. And finally, there's just Corey Feldman, meaning he is oddly fascinating. There's something about the cadence of his speech, his personality, how he sort of quantifies and qualifies and categorizes his music, his acting. Oh, this is another great thing. I saw him, I guess it was Stephen Baldwin. He's got a great new podcast, One Bad Movie. It's really good. And so Corey went on and he said about, I almost got the role for this and that. He rattled off a bunch of roles that he claims that he, was almost cast for. Like, for example, The Shining. Danny, the kid in The Shining, which that's one of my favorite movies. And, the actor who got the role, eventually he did great in it. But Corey claims that Kubrick was very close to casting him, but yet no one remembers. Everyone from that production team, there's no notes, there's no paperwork, and no one remembers it. So, I'm not saying that Corey's lying, but it's kind of strange. But, so it's Corey himself, the way he conducts himself. There's that famous viral video moment when he was on the Today Show. And I think his backup singers are called the Angels, Corey's Angels, instead of Charlie's Angels, Corey's Angels. And he was there, and it was, I've seen, I guess, the full clip, and it's pretty spectacular. There's just something very odd about Corey Feldman, or I should say oddly fascinating. There's something attractive. Dare I say train wreck? You just want to keep watching him. And so there's many YouTubers, many people have made documentaries and, full-blown documentaries. But there's one of my favorites is JimandThem. And these dudes are funny. They're funny. And Corey has gotten, so entangled with them, so enmeshed. That I guess I think Jim said it's true that now we're part of each other's lives. There's no getting around that. If you know Corey Feldman, if you watch something about Corey Feldman, JimandThem are going to come up too. And I think the guys do good work. Do they kind of go overboard? Man, maybe. Certainly if they went so overboard, they were getting copyright strikes or abusive, and YouTube has never faulted them for that. And I know Corey has tried his best to get rid of them. He calls them dirty filth pigs. And again, it goes back to who Corey is. And he's so fascinating. Dirty filth pigs. I've never heard that, but now I know it from Corey Feldman. There's something really weirdly, oddly, coolly fascinating even about Corey Feldman. He's amusing. Jim and them make him more so amusing, and I'm all the better. I think we're all the better for it. So what do you think? A little too much sometimes, perhaps. But people could argue there's no such thing as bad publicity, and Corey Feldman keeps getting it. What do you think? Give us your thoughts and feedback about Corey Feldman. Hope you're enjoying, hope you're subscribing. See you soon.
Here's the best sci-fi on YouTube.
On a sci-fi guy, of course.